Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Bingy's Theory. I just got back from Insidious Chapter 2, and I guess before I start, I might as well talk about how I feel about the first movie. Generally, I really enjoy the first movie. I think that in terms of horror, it can actually work, and I know that some people may disagree with me in terms of that, especially towards the end. Because of Tiny Tim's Tiptoe Through the Tulips and all that kind of stuff, but it generally is creepy, and I think it generally works. So when I hear that there's gonna, and the casting was really good, and it felt like a very smart script. Like, this had great pacing and everything. I thought the first movie was really good at that. That's why I consider it to be one of James Wan's best films, because the guy essentially knows horror. He essentially knows horror because he's done films like the first Saw movie, which is one of my favorite Saw films, apart from the second movie. Death Sentence, which is one of Kevin Bacon's like underrated films. Like, seriously, if you have not watched Death Sentence, you should check that out. It's really good. Also did The Conjuring, which in my last one of my previous episodes I talked about it, and I generally really enjoyed it. And so yeah, I was and Insidious, like I said, really good movie. I really enjoyed it. So when I hear that they're making a second movie, it generally made me think, why? To explain why I was thinking that, I'm gonna have to spoil the first, the ending of the first movie to you. So if you have not seen it, go out and go check it out, and come back and watch this episode, and then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But so spoiler alert: the first movie ends with Patrick Wilson finding out that he has this sort of gift that his son has, that whenever they go to sleep, they go into this, they can get out of their bodies, and their spirits can go into the spirit world, where a bunch of spirits can go around and just walk around and see if they can find like a body that they can take over. And he was trying to find his son's soul, and he does, but in the process, his soul gets taken away, and somebody else's, and like this evil woman who wears like a black bridal gown takes over his body. And then you kind of realize that towards the end of the first movie, because what happens is the psychic lady gets strangled by Patrick Wilson, and or by the Black Widows taking over Patrick Wilson's body, and then Rose Byrne, the wife of Patrick Wilson, realizes that, and she slowly turns around, and then he's just slowly approaching her, like we're having like POV shot of her just looking at her and going and then it fades to black, and then the Insidious logo comes up. So that to me is a good ending, because it just makes you kind of wonder, like, oh, what's gonna happen next? But at the same time, you kind of don't want things to continue, because it's a good enough ending. It's like it's an ending that may kind of be a downer, but it kind of leaves it up to the audience to see what happens next, or for anybody else that has the internet, they can do a fan fiction about it. I don't care. So when I hear that they're making the second movie, it generally left me feeling like, why? Why do we need to know more about what happens? Because this movie, this Insidious Chapter 2 felt like an unnecessary epilogue. And because it just really just kind of left you wondering why. Like, why do we need to continue with this? The first movie ended wonderfully. I think, to me, it worked. It generally worked. So I can't really say I was looking forward to it, but of course, being me, I was still optimistic that it was still going to work. It was still written by James Wan and Lee Wanell, who was also one of the guys that worked on the first Saw movie. Hell, he was Adam from the first Saw movie. He's a good actor, and so I was like, okay, those guys are coming back, and James Wan's going to direct this. So I was like, okay, cool. So maybe this might actually work. It doesn't. It does not work, because there's so many stupid things about this movie. So generally the movie takes place immediately after the end of the first movie, just immediately after that. And Patrick Wilson was like all kind of like, oh my god, like the poor psychic woman, she's dead. And then Rose Byrne's just looking at him like, looking at him, and he's just like, no, I didn't do this. Believe me, I swear. He's just trying to defend himself, which we all know that the spirit took him over. So we all know it was actually him. And then there's a police investigation going on because they want to know who killed the psychic lady. They found the marks on her throat, being told by that she was strangled to death. And so they're doing an investigation on him, and at the same time, the family has moved to Patrick Wilson's mother's place, which they kind of show that house has a bit of a history, because near the beginning of the film, they have like this sort of prologue of Patrick Wilson when he was a kid back in 1986, of him experiencing the same kind of dreams and everything that his son has in the first movie. So it kind of gives a little backstory as to why he's completely forgotten all about this, and it gets into the more stupid kind of thing. It gets more into stupid things, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, like there's now there's ghosts haunting his Patrick Wilson's mother's place, and it's the spirit of the bridal gown woman, black bridal gown woman, and wanted to take over and slowly taking over Patrick Wilson's body. So that's basically the whole plot, is that they're trying to get this the spirit out. But then you find out that it's not actually the bridal gown woman. It's actually her son, because we find out more about her in like some backstories, that she had a son, but she did not want him to be a son. She wanted him to be a woman, a little girl. So basically what she did was she just made this kid's life a living hell by basically dressing him up like a little girl, having a wig on him with the ponytails, and having this entire room be pink, and having the dollhouse, a rocking chair, a rocking horse chair, and everything. Like this kid's life was seriously a hell, and his mother was being completely abusive, to the point where he draws like a picture and then he puts his boy's name in there. She finds out, she gets mad and everything, and she slaps him and tells him that your name is Whitney or something, or that, and it just like. So later on in his life, he goes into ICU because he wanted to castrate himself, and he died in the ICU, but his spirit is still walking around, and his mother's still possessed and is still judging him in the afterlife or whatever. And so the son has taken over Patrick Wilson's body, essentially, and that's pretty much about it. I mean, otherwise it's just a movie that didn't necessarily need to be made, because honestly, I did not get scared at this movie once. Not once did I ever get scared at all. There's some good shots, like there's some good, like some long shots of you can see the ghost like in the corner, or like when Rose Byrne is like on the phone, she's walking, everything, camera's following her, and then in the corner you can see like the ghost just like sitting on a chair just waiting for her. You can see, if you look really closely, you can see that, but if you did miss it, it doesn't give you a jump scare or anything like that. There's a part where the woman pops out of nowhere and slaps Rose Byrne, and that was a good shot. There's some good points to this movie, but to me, this just didn't feel so tense and scary as the first movie. Like I said, say what you will about the first movie in terms of the ending with the cheesiness of like hearing Tiny Tim, but that's creepy. To me, that is creepy. I cannot stress enough that this movie, like after the end of that first movie, I generally felt very creeped out. And then The Conjuring came out, and that took it even more. But like I said, go check out that other review for it. But this movie just really was not that scary to me, and I generally just had no experience with it. And then you find out more about what goes on in the spirit world, and oh my god, this is so stupid. Okay. So it turns out that that spirits in the spirit world can time travel. They can time travel because once Patrick Wilson, the real Patrick Wilson, is in the spirit world and everything, he's trying to find out what to do in order to get back to his body. What he does is he follows like some other spirits around, and he sees like his old house, and then he goes in, and then he starts seeing like, you know, himself in that house. And they're taking like scenes from the first movie, integrating it into this movie because it explains that all of, like the door bangings and everything from the first movie came from Patrick Wilson in the second movie. So yeah, we are time traveling now. And I'm sorry, I cannot get behind that. I think that's one of the most stupidest things I've ever heard. So you're telling me that a ghost can time travel from like right now to they can go back to the 1800s and take over somebody else's body and completely alter time and space and everything? No. You cannot tell me this is serious. You cannot say to me that this actually works. I'm sure somebody will make up some science fact about it. I don't care. It's fucking stupid. Ugh. And yeah, just this movie again is quite unnecessary. It explains that this movie should have just stayed the way that it is. Just have the first movie, and that's it. We didn't need to know more about this. I thought the first movie was enough. So, and the way that this movie and the way that Chapter 2 ends, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a third one. So, yay. So yeah, that's all I can say about this, guys. If you're curious enough to watch it, wait till it comes out on DVD, or hell, just watch the first Insidious. Or hell, if you want a better James Wan film for this year, go check out The Conjuring. If it's still around in your local movie theater, go check it out. It's well worth the time and money to go check it out. So yeah, other than that, I didn't like it at all. So that's all I gotta say about this movie, guys. Yeah, this weekend in terms of movies kind of sucked, but I got my Tarantino box set, so I'm probably going to be watching some Death Proof, Represent, or watch some Pulp Fiction. Who knows? Anything Tarantino right now sounds really, really good. So until next time, guys, this is Big Bingy, signing out.